This week, I facilitated over 12 hours of virtual workshops in like the space of about 4 days. It was a lot, it was intense, I'm not gonna lie. But the good news is that they were super successful, the outcomes were great, people were engaged. I had so much fun doing it, but there's some key things that I learned this time around, and I wanna share those with you. So that's what we're gonna do in this video. My name is Lowell and I am a collaboration coach. I am also a workshop facilitator and a project manager. I love helping build high-performing teams, and that's what this channel is all about. Giving you the tips, the tricks, the tools to really get the best out of your teams so that collaboration, creativity, innovation, and productivity can thrive. If you're liking this content, please subscribe to my channel and like this video and connect with me in the comments. All right, let's go. Okay, so I've got some notes here so I don't forget these important points that I learned, right? So forgive if I'm like looking down. All right, so the first thing that I learned is that there is a positive, direct correlation between the efficiency of a workshop and the familiarity of the things that you're doing in the workshop. It takes time for people to kind of sink into a process, but once they're familiar with the process and they know what to expect, that warming up time is a lot shorter and people can just jump into the nitty-gritty of doing the activities. So it makes the workshop run quicker and it makes people engaged much quicker. So one of the workshops that I ran this week was stretched over 3 days. Now every single segment of the workshop, and we had 2 each day, followed the same structure. The first time we did it, it took time for people to sink into the process, but as time went on and as we opened the following day's session or that afternoon session, people knew what the structure was going to be, so they were able to start contributing immediately. And so I realized that yeah, it's true. There is a direct positive correlation between familiarity and efficiency. And I bet that doesn't only stem from workshopping. That stems from, in operations, they use this principle all the time. And this is why we have training programs, but I can go down a massive rabbit hole with all of that stuff. But this is one of the learnings that I just really wanted to highlight to you. Make sure that you are clear on the structure of the workshop, and as much as possible, if it's going to be stretched over time, try to keep that same structure so that people can predict what is going to come up next to a degree. Now, I'm not saying do something that's going to bore people. That's another thing we have to keep in mind, right? We don't want to bore our participants. However, predictability can be a great thing. And that's what I wanted to highlight to you. Okay, the next thing is reading the energy in the room. All right, so these workshops were scheduled to be 2 hours long each. So we ended up having 4 hours of workshops each day, 2 hours in the morning, break, 2 hours in the afternoon. Now, what we found was that at the 90-minute mark, people start to lose interest. And so we tried 2 different approaches. The first approach was to break the 2-hour workshop into 2, meaning at the 1 hour mark, we would give people a 10 or 15-minute break, and then we would come back to finish up the workshop. What we found is that at around the 1 hour mark, people really start gaining momentum. And when you break there and then you bring people back to the workshop, that momentum is lost and they don't have enough time to build it back up again to get into a flow state. And because of this, you end up losing time and you end the workshop in a really washy way where people aren't really engaged and it's just not a strong end to the session. So people end up leaving the workshop feeling a bit, I don't want to say defeated. Defeated is too strong a word, but they're not feeling the way you want them to feel, elated and excited for the next session. So what we ended up doing is running the workshop for 90 minutes and then finishing the session. That tended to work really well because at the 1 hour mark, as I said, momentum starts to be gained and really set in, and then people are in flow. So that last half an hour as you approach the 90 minutes is where you get the most out of people. And so we would just end the session there. We ended in a great way and people felt that they got the outcomes, they were energized, and it's a good feeling to end a process in a strong way. Now, running the workshop for 2 hours straight, even if you're breaking it, if you run the workshop for 2 hours straight, it's too long. It feels like you're pulling teeth. Yeah, that's actually the term that people in my workshops have used sometimes when it goes too long. Pulling teeth is what it's like. It's hard. Energy is like gone out the window and people are not engaged anymore. So I don't like to run my workshops for 2 hours. It's literally an hour, 90 minutes max, and then we can come back another time to finish up stuff. So yeah, that's how I learned that reading the energy in the room is the best way, and 90-minute workshops work really well. So during this week, I facilitated my workshops with 2 different tools. I used Menti, Mentimeter, and I also used Mural. Now, I will probably do another video in the future going through the differences between these two tools, but let me just give you a high-level overview. So Mural is a whiteboarding tool you can use sticky notes to communicate and collaborate in real time. It works really well when you have a group of, say, no more than 12 to 15 people. When you break that number, it starts getting a bit convoluted and it's hard to control the session. When the numbers outgrow that 12 to 15 mark, I opt for Menti or Mentimeter, which is an audience response tool to be used for collaboration in real time as well, but the interactivity is not as integrated as Mural is, meaning that it can be how can I say this? Mentimeter is suited for other things. So I tend to use Mentimeter when we have too many people, but it means that the structure of my workshop needs to be a little bit different to accommodate how the tool is used. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when you are starting a workshop, you really need to get people warmed up. You need to get people in the zone and ready to do some work collaboratively. And that time varies depending on the tool that you're using. So if you're using Mural, I find that the warm-up time is a lot shorter. And with Menti, it takes a bit longer to get people in that zone. Also with Mural, working alone and quietly seems to be fine. People don't mind the silence, plus you can play music in the background, we do that sometimes. But because you can see the activity that's happening on the screen in front of you, you can see what everybody else is doing. The silence isn't so deafening, and when you're watching a recording of the workshop, you can see what's going on if you're sharing your screen, and so it feels like you're not missing out on anything. With Menti, however, when people are responding to a question or giving their feedback or voting on something, you can't see what they're doing. You can only see what you are doing as a participant, or if nothing's happening as the facilitator, you're just seeing a blank screen. And it takes a lot longer for people to respond in Menti than it does in Mural for some reason. So because of that, you need to give a longer amount of time to get people warmed up in Menti. And another trick that works really well in Menti is that while people are voting or responding to a question, you should have some kind of dialogue going on or presenting something to fill the silence. Otherwise, it can get really awkward. So those are my learnings from my week-long of exciting workshops. I hope you have got something out of this video. If so, please comment below and let me know what that is. And if you want to see me do a deep dive into any of these tools, let me know as well. So just to recap, the things that we covered were: there's a positive direct correlation between efficiency and familiarity in a workshop. Read the energy in the room. Sometimes you may need to shorten the workshop, and I find that 90 minutes works way better than 2 hours with a break in the middle. And lastly, warming up takes time. Depending on the tool that you're using, you're gonna need to factor this in because there's gonna be a difference. Alright, so thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next one.